Today's AskReddit post. If you voted for Donald Trump in 2016 but won't in 2020, what changed your mind? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. 42 years old. I never voted for anybody because I grew up believing it didn't matter who got elected. They were all just different brand names for the same bullshit. I will be voting this time because I see now that it can matter who's in that office. 30 years old and never voted before for the same reasons. I'm ashamed of it. I have already sent my absentee ballot request form. Me in 2016. A. Better than Hillary. Me in 2020. Nope. I was barely 18 when I voted. I was still a senior in high school. I grew up in an extremely conservative town with opinionated parents and a lack of access to the outside world. I wasn't allowed on any social media. Then I went to college and met people of other races, creeds, sexualities, and I learned empathy. I regret my choice and I know that the Trump administration has caused a lot of pain and suffering for a lot of people. I am trying to do my part by educating myself and calling people out on their bullshit whenever I'm in my hometown. Edit. Thank you everyone so much for the support and the gold. Don't forget to vote. Unfortunately you aren't alone. Many kids are in your situation but end up never leaving. They stay in the same small communities that are shut off from the real world. I see people talking about my hometown Portland like it's some kind of battlefield right now, but really it's super chill and the protests have been super peaceful minus what the police and feds have done. Donald Trump said if he didn't intervene there would be no Portland, and it scares me that people could believe him. The divide in America is mainly between those who live in urban cities and those who live in rural areas. The GOP focuses on wedge social issues because they know that people in rural towns are less likely to have experience with anyone who is different from them. Town I'm from is piss their pants scared of any city. Literally any city. Huntsville is a 30-minute drive away for them and they act like you'll get shot. It's so wild how bad the disconnect is. I don't know if it's the poor education or if their parents just made them believe it. This is one of the reasons I got out of my tiny hometown. I knew there was more out there because I read a lot of books. I got shat on by classmates and family for reading so much. People are willfully ignorant and they take pride in being so to cover up their fear of the unknown. I embraced the unknown and blew their minds. 2016. Haha, how bad could he be? 2020. Real ducking bad. What's the worst that could happen? Will this really change your life? Will you die? Turns out yes. The coronavirus was a game changer. I was initially surprised when more people approved of Trump's handling of COVID than disapproved in March when there were already around 15k daily cases. 55% approval. But I'm heartened that more and more people are coming to their senses of how badly Trump handled it. 34% approval now. Gestures broadly at everything. What made you vote for him the first time? I was asked this a while ago and the best answer I have is that he was the Republican candidate, and growing up in a Republican household I was expected to vote them no matter what. Now that I'm older I'm going to keep my vote more private, and honestly the idea of being associated with a political party does not appeal to me. The actions of the previous generations wearing votes on their sleeves is a little disgusting when you inspect it. It's a huge part of the fuel for the contemptuous political bipartisanship in the US. I was 24. I've grown, matured, found empathy for others. Honestly, I started to grow frustrated with the constant tweeting, lies and whataboutism. I also stopped watching Fox News. I wish I was 24 when that happened. I was in my mid-30s before it dawned on me that maybe I was a Republican simply because my parents are. Once I decided to choose ideas based on merit, logic, empathy, and compassion, it all changed for me. That was a paradigm shift that took a while to absorb. That's for sure. So, kudos for getting to that point at such a young age. I was a much different person in 2016. I thought it would be good to have a businessman running the country. I also bought into Hillary being corrupt and Bill being a rapist. Although I do expect some Epstein dirt on both Bill and Trump. I didn't realize I was voting for a disgusting sociopath who retweets videos of his supporters chanting white power. I now recognize MAGA as an absolute cult for really stupid people. I can understand conservatives who think he's the best option they have. But when I see a MAGA hat, I know I'm looking at an absolute moron. In my opinion, I have several dinner bets on Trump losing with my friends. If he wins, I'll be shocked, devastated, and really ashamed of my country. The thing is with all those points, we didn't know. Grab him by the pussy was pretty clear. The dude is a creep and horrible businessman who went bankrupt 6 times, not 4. That was the turning point for me. I was intrigued by the idea of bringing business principles to DC. But when I heard that clip, I changed my mind. I don't like Hillary, but I voted for her. Upvote for not being okay with violence against women. What shocked me the most with Trump's win was how many people were basically saying they're okay that women are sexually assaulted, and they're so okay with it that they will elect a president who openly admits to having done so. It's pretty terrifying if you think about it. Edit. Thanks so much for the award, kind stranger. Not okay with violence against anyone. There was a woman. That comment was particularly odious. But, in addition to that fact that he was stupid enough to brag to a low-level TV host about it showed such a lack of judgment. It made me wonder what other asinine things he might do. I was a 18-year-old high school kid in the rural South. Family was always Southern Baptist and conservative. I wasn't really to the point where I held my own political beliefs. Just basically took my family's beliefs as fact. I've grown up. I've changed. The world has changed even. 22-year-old me definitely wouldn't have voted for Trump in 2016. And I won't be voting for him this year either. While I still do hold many conservative beliefs still, I am far from the alt-right cop voters who will be voting for Trump in 2020. I didn't, but almost voted for him in 2016 thinking he was a successful businessman that would grow our economy and pay off our insane debt. Instead we got the largest deficit, pre-COVID, tax cuts for wealthy, and found out he really wasn't that successful. Just a con man who didn't pay contractors. Hard not to make money when you're a professional cheater. Edit. Reminders. 1. I did not vote for Trump. Please stop asking me why I could have voted for him. 2. I hate Trump, but I'm starting to realize why Trump supporters feel so isolated and defend him. When everyone attacks me for my honest opinion and even at my own admission that I briefly drank the orange Kool-Aid, it just pushes me away from the Democratic Party. This sort of discourse is why our country is so divided, and why Trump can hold on to his base. You're playing into what Trump wants by relentlessly attacking his base like they aren't human for considering him. I'm an independent who cares about the economy, and for a minute he seemed like a good choice. But after seeing more of the content of his character, I voted for Hillary. Instead of saying who are cold, you drop the condescending attitude and listen for a minute. That's how you can help reunite this country and get rid of Trump in November. Also, thanks for the gold. Not talking down to you when I say this. It's a genuine question. But didn't we know he was just a shifty businessman that screwed his contractors for a long time before his campaign? I voted third party because I wanted to send a message with my vote. I had been thinking that my vote wouldn't matter. He didn't have a chance in hell, and even if he won he wouldn't be able to get anything done because the GOP would have a spine and stand up against things that went against their mission statement or made them look bad. Mud on my face. There. Feel you so much on that. I thought voting third party was a protest vote and that the Democratic Party will look at why my demographic didn't vote their way and make a change. No change has been made, and now there's a bunch of emboldened racists running rampant. Talk about ducking mud. If you're protesting at election time with your ballot, you're too late. That shit needs to start well before presidential elections, and more often than not at the state and sometimes city levels. But I give you kudos for admitting you had to ask for a mud wipe and not repeating the same mistake again. I'm a registered independent and bottom line for presidential elections is that as an independent I need to vote for the best one that actually has a shot at winning. I didn't vote, but my dad did. He said that all presidents need to have a straight mind, strong and bold. Then when riots happened, he learned that Donald Trump wasn't the strong, bold leader he thought of. He hid in his bunker not because people were gonna raid the White House. He was just scared. He couldn't give a damn about the people asking for change. Instead of actually reforming corrupt police, he just hid, walled off the White House so no one could go near it. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Did seeing that change his mind? Yeah, I love when stories have a happy ending. Once upon a time, there was a massage parlor down the road from me. Hello, I'm English and don't have a vote in this. And believe me, we have enough problems of our own over here. But I pay a lot of attention to American politics. It's in the news a lot here at the moment just because of how batshit crazy Trump is. Anyway, I saw a headline the other day that said officials in China were secretly hoping Trump was going to get re-elected because he destabilizes the USA so much another 4 years of him will really help China become a more dominant superpower globally as he diminishes the state's power internationally. I just thought, Jesus, that is as big a damning indictment against the man as you could possibly get. He's everything that's wrong with the world today. Imo. I'll cross my fingers for you all for the election. Good luck. I'm not American, but my aunt and cousin both voted Trump because they were sick of shitty politicians running the scene. They thought that a businessman might be able to cut through the pigshit tsunami that is American politics. They are very disappointed in how anti-science Trump is and claim they will not vote for him again. Edit. Spelling. Thanks for sharing. With all due respect, do you believe them? Or do you think they'll claim to be undecided until election day? I don't think they'll be voting Trump on election day. They're both traditionally Dem and voting red was pretty out of character. I think it was one of those let's try something new ideas. But the anti-science bit was a huge disappointment. I'm a diehard Republican and I didn't and never would vote for him based just on how he ran his company's money into the ground and treated his employees. Out of curiosity, and as a long-time fiscal conservative and former Republican myself, do you still think the party represents your values overall? I think I've been more disappointed with his enablers than with the Potters himself. I mean, I expected him to be awful. I didn't expect everyone else to play along. I personally don't see myself voting for another GOP candidate until the party's been thoroughly decontaminated and left out to dry for a long while. I couldn't vote in 2016 because I didn't send a request for an absentee ballot soon enough, but I was going to vote for Trump because of his plans for the military. I was out processing from the army and wanted to make sure they would get what they'd need to win and survive in combat. But after seeing him handle COVID and claim he was not responsible for anything, that really pissed me the duck off. In the army, I learned as a leader you are responsible for everything your element does or fails to do. From the team leader right up to the chief of staff, the president of the United States is responsible for everything that happens in this country, whether they like it or not. I am not voting for Trump this coming election. Have you requested your mail-in ballots yet? LOL. Question of the evening. I did not vote for him in 2016. I was a registered Republican up until his nomination, and then switched. But my dad did. My dad passed in August 2017, and in the months before his death, my dad and I had long talks about Trump. He said he had made a mistake voting for him. He realized that Trump was not the Christian he claimed to be, and that he was not a good man. I think if my dad was still alive today, it would be the first election where he did not vote Republican. I'm sorry for your loss. 3. I was disappointed with a few things that he did here and there, but I wasn't that aware of the scope of some things, so it didn't seem so bad. Then COVID happened. He didn't wear a mask until recently and suddenly many of his supporters became anti-maskers. Instead of leading by wearing a mask and encouraging people to wear a mask, he continued to not want anyone to wear a mask at events. Then he started encouraging bad treatment of protesters. I literally went from a lifelong Republican to a Democrat within months. It kinda freaks me out that I changed so quickly, but I realize that they've been using brute force to do what you think is right despite what's morally right or what the country wants is just plain wrong. I am less worried about my taxes going up a little if it means preventing a child dying from malnutrition. I am less concerned about making sure there's no welfare fraud if it helps people that truly need it. BTW, I was always socially liberal. I just felt like most social issues didn't belong in politics. I've always wanted prison reform, equal rights for everyone, but I'm realizing most Republican politicians do not want those things. I feel like my eyes have been opened and I literally used to think liberals were oblivious to taxes going up. I was wrong. I am less worried about my taxes going up a little if it means preventing a child dying from malnutrition. I am less concerned about making sure there's no welfare fraud if it helps people that truly need it. Realist shit right there. You're awesome, dude. Grew up in middle of nowhere conservative town. Took what my parents and others said as fact and adopted their political views. I never did my own research on politics. Since then I've met amazing people who've helped me see things from a different perspective. Now I see the issues with what I believed before. Happy to say that I do much more research and don't just go in the voting booth blind. I'm now pretty far from conservative. I learned stuff and kept an open mind, and now I'm not conservative anymore. Is exactly how myself and a few others I know changed our stance on a lot involving politics. What changed your mind? Long story short, I grew up. I work for the United States Post Office. It's a shit show with this newly appointed PMG. I'm concerned about my future employment, my livelihood. Wish us luck in 2020. I mean, I'm glad you're not voting for him, but this just seems like more of the other sentiments in this thread, which amounts to essentially I was happy to hire a leopard to eat other people's faces, but I don't like it when they come to eat mine. I'm smart enough to not make the same mistake twice. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me. You can't get fooled again. If you had told me in 2002 that particular George W. Bush quote was the best possible advice for 2020, I'd have laughed at you. But here we are. If you told me in 2002 that quote is far from the stupidest thing a president would say in my life, I'd have laughed at you. And here we are. Edit. Guys, I was talking about Obama's person, woman, man, camera, TV, Trump 2020. I moved out of my parents' house, experienced college, people from many backgrounds, and I'm in a career where I know what a good leader looks like, and he is most certainly not that. Honestly, this is why Republicans from poorer, predominantly poorly educated areas of the country are against college. People tend to go more left once they are exposed to different cultures and many different types of people. And happens at college pretty often. And with moving to larger cities, it makes sense if you consider that people in small town rural America often never leave their state, let alone spend much time on bigger cities. They aren't everyone around other people enough to fully realize that they aren't like the talking points make them out to be. And it becomes hilarious how Republicans are now so concerned about sending kids back to school during a pandemic when they have an anti-college mindset anyways. I'll be voting for Biden after voting for Trump in 2016. Hit politicalization of a pandemic and poor response to it are the main reason for the change. I also strongly dislike the way he deals with Russia and the cronyism amongst his cabinet. I didn't agree with everything George Bush or Obama did it stood for, but I believe they were trying to improve the country in the best way they saw how. Trump seems to be only selfishly motivated and has made a mockery of our nation's highest elected office. I am not proud to live in this country as long as he is at its helm. I look forward to November 3rd, the underrated portion. And the portion I don't think many will point out is how you mentioned that you believe Obama was at least trying to improve things. It is very, very difficult to get a Republican to say that under any circumstances. I remember something my dad, who is very, very Republican, told me growing up. Actually, I was just a kid. 9. I think Clinton had just been elected for his second term. I asked him if he was happy about who won the election. He said it doesn't matter if I'm happy or not. I hope every president is the best one we've ever had. That's just being an American. He does not hold this hope for Trump being re-elected. Bush Sr. left a note for Bill Clinton in the Oval on Inauguration Day with a very similar sentiment. You will be our president when you read this note. I wish you well. I wish your family well. Your success now is our country's success. I am rooting hard for you. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.